Hello and welcome to Own Your Wellness podcast. I'm so excited. We're here today with a special guest. This podcast is where we talk about holistic options to heal and take charge of your health. And today we're getting into one of the most significant milestones in a woman's life, how we bring our babies into the world. And my guest here is well known in Southern California. I am so excited to share her with you. She is a birth and postpartum doula. She's a mother, a wife, and one of those women that you meet that you immediately want to make your best girlfriend. She's the owner of Lotus Doula Tribe and Lotus Nanny Tribe, but she is known for her humor, her ability to go from deeply real to like laugh out loud fun. And my personal note, she is a good hugger, which speaks volumes in my book. But most of all, she's extremely knowledgeable in the areas of birth, postpartum health, and healing. And I just a little side note because I love her story so much. She is also a member of the Conejo Valley Wellness Community, which I have the honor to be part of. But I heard her story, and becoming a doula was not just a career choice for her, it was something that felt like an ancestral calling from her great aunt Hilda, who was a midwife over 200 years ago for an Indian tribe. But this work that she does is her joy, and it is deeply rooted in her. So please help me welcome Miss Mary Skinner to our show. Mary, thanks for being here. I'm so excited to have
Thank
this
you.
conversation with you.
Same. So excited. Thank you for that.
So we are here today, and a lot of people, my kids are 20 and 23, and when I used to hear the word doula, I would be like, yeah, that's for like hippies. I really didn't know what it meant. I don't know if that's common. Would you say that's common?
It's like nowadays it's getting more and more well known, but even back in the day when my friend asked, this was like 14 years ago, my friend asked me to be her doula, I was like, what is that? Never heard of it. So,
Oh.
but nowadays more and more people kind of know what it is,
So tell
mostly.
us a little bit about exactly what it is so that as we carry on the conversation, I want to give moms or moms to be an idea of what it is because it's an alternative to just going to your OB doctor and going to the hospital and having a baby. So tell us what a doula is.
Yeah. So doulas, the actual word is Latin for woman's servant. And it's been around for thousands of years. Women have always been supporting women in childbirth. Before hospitals, when women were just having babies at home, there was always a mom there to support. There was always a sister or an auntie or a friend. Just women need women during that very vulnerable and sacred time. And so I think it became more formalized in the 80s with Penny Simkin, who was one of our very first OG doulas. She just recently passed last year, and she's just amazing and really pioneered the way for us to get into places and hospitals and just to kind of bring awareness to it. But the doula is different than the doctor. It's different than the midwife, where those are medical professionals. They have licensure, they've gone to school, they kind of handle all of the medical aspect of birth and mothers and babies, where we handle the emotional, the mental, the physical, the spiritual support of childbirth. Prenatally, so helping moms prepare for their births, education, kind of that like guiding hand to just hold their hand through the whole process prenatally. I always kind of align it with a wedding planner. You could have the wedding on your own, and good luck if you're like very, organized type A. But it is so nice to have somebody take care of all the little things that you don't even think about regarding birth and postpartum and prenatally and pregnancy. Like there's just so much. And there's a lot of information out there. The internet with ChatGPT, with AI, with Google, Reddit, Insta, TikTok, there's too much information actually. It's overwhelming. Like I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to do. That's where we come in. And we're like, we've actually done all of the reading for you. We've trial and errored a lot of things. We have like a very smooth path on what to do through pregnancy, birth, postpartum.
I
So
love that. Okay. So it's kind of like somebody has your back. It's so helpful to have somebody advocate, you advocate for people so you know them before they're having a baby and
Yeah.
you get an idea of what they want. Do you have an idea of how many births you've done?
I'm close to almost 200.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh, yeah, that's cool that if you can count. I'd love to hear some examples so that people, moms who hear this, they can think of maybe moms to be or a loved one of theirs. But tell me a little bit, because you're the owner of Lotus Doula Tribe and Lotus Nanny Tribe. So, what does that even mean? What is that?
So when like I got started 14 years ago for a girlfriend who wanted me to be her doula. And then, I just did it for them. And then years went on. I went on to have more babies. And then about like 3.5, 4 years ago, I kept getting friends asking me like, "Hey, can you be my doula? I'll pay you to like come to my birth." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like I'd be honored. I love it." About almost 4 years ago, it was like becoming more and more like friends kept asking me and midwives kept asking and I was like, "Huh, okay, this feels like I'm being called to this." But I was a little hesitant because I have 3 kids and I was homeschooling them. And I was like, how am I going to do this? So I formed Lotus Doula Tribe with the intention and just the manifestation of I need to have support and women need, they need more than one woman to support them in case I'm sick, in case my kids are sick, in case I'm at another birth or I'm out of town. And so that's the beauty of the tribe is that we have 4 other birth doulas, and then we have some postpartum, and then a lot of like overnight postpartum, and then we added the nannies, and then I added like birth support, whether that be acupuncture, chiropractors, massage therapists, pelvic floor PTs, midwives, photographers. Mental health therapists, you name it. Like I grew up here, and so I've been able to just network and meet so many incredible women, and a lot of them that are part of the tribe and that I could trust so that these, brand new moms don't have to go on Yelp or Google and find some random person that it's all kind of like, we've got you. Go to this person. I trust them. And that's kind of what makes up the tribe. And so we all just work together and I'm really big on community. When I was a new mom, that was huge for me. That isolation, that loneliness, I could see how that would creep into postpartum depression. And so when I first became a mom, I started teaching yoga and I started teaching mommy and me yoga at the park. And it attracted all these moms and they all became my friends. And we would all do play dates together and we just had so much fun. And I was like, when I started this, I was like, my clients need that. And so every quarter I host a picnic, a Lotus Doula Tribe family picnic and potluck. So everyone brings something and blankets and chairs and we hang out and the babies all hang out. And we also do a baby item swap so they can bring clothes and stuff that they don't need. And then the pregnant mamas come and take what they want. And we donate the rest to a battered women's shelter. And it's just, a beautiful community. And then I also teach mommy and me classes, yoga classes. So a lot of them meet through there and they went to prenatal yoga. Now they come to mommy and me. And so
My gosh,
really,
I want to have a baby all over again. Just to be part of it. If you're
oh,
in the Ventura County area, Mary and her tribe service this whole Southern California, Ventura County, Conejo Valley. Um,
hmm
I don't know if you
LA, like Western LA County.
Okay. You're a wealth of resources. Somebody can count on you to advocate for them, make sure that what they want going into their birth, you're going to help be the voice, you're going to help comfort, you're an emotional rock for them. It's a very emotional time, so it's there you probably see all kinds of emotions. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And then there's also a spectrum of women, women who want all natural, no hospital corridors. And then there's some that want, like, no, they want to be in a hospital. That's their safety zone.
Yeah.
So if you have a doula, do you need to be one or the other? Tell us the spectrum here.
So no, I mean, a doula can support you wherever you're birthing, at home, birth center, hospital. I've done all types of births, C-sections, inductions, unmedicated, home birth, all of that, surrogate, single mamas, twins, all of
I'm a
it. And it's
twin.
all, oh, you are a twin.
Yes.
There you go. Like whatever you need it, it doesn't matter what kind of birth you want. Support is support, before, during, after. And I feel like every mom deserves that
I
regardless,
think that's so important to know because I probably would have eliminated myself from the idea of having a doula because my husband was very adamant he wanted the safety of a hospital in case anything
Yeah.
went wrong. So now tell us, I know you have a few stories, and I just want to take a few minutes to capture those birth stories. I know one of them was a home breech birth, which could
Mm-hmm.
probably be very scary, but
Mm-hmm.
tell us how a doula is instrumental during that.
Yeah, so this was a really sweet client of mine. She'd actually just hired me for postpartum care. And in my postpartum, I do like a lot of Ayurvedic cooking and massage and belly binding and healing. And so she was, really looking forward to that. It was her second birth. And on my prenatal intake form, I said, "What is your dream birth?" And she put a home water birth. And I thought that's so interesting. I couldn't help myself at our prenatal visit to prep for her postpartum support. I said, I can't help but noticing that your dream birth is a home water birth, and yet you're delivering at the hospital. And she's like, "Yeah, I don't think my husband would be comfortable with it." And this is like 95% of moms that want a home birth. They always say their partner. And I'm always like, oh my gosh, your partner's not birthing the baby though. You're birthing the baby. You get to choose, And I understand that the baby's half theirs, but this is your body. You carried it for 10 months. You get to choose how and where you want to birth. You know what I'm saying? So I looked at, she told me this response about her husband, and he was in the other room. And so I was like, hey, let's ask him. So he came in and I was like, hey, your wife wants to have her dream birth as a home water birth. What do you think about that? And he was like, yeah, we could do that.
Wow.
And he's like, we just have to think like logistics of our older daughter, but we can work that out. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And she was 35 weeks. So like
Oh.
close to the end,
And her
where
second baby,
and our
not
second
even her
baby.
first. Yes.
Right. And so most women would have never like had the courage to switch providers and to make such a huge shift. But this mama was so just brave and courageous. And I linked her up with one of my favorite home birth midwives. And they started working together. And I had offered, I said, I know you hired me for postpartum, but I'd love if you want me to be at the birth. Like, I love home births. I had two home birth babies myself in water as well. So that is like my jam, even though like 90% of my births that I do are hospital. Home births just aren't as popular. Unfortunately, they should be, but they're
Yeah.
not. And so she was like, "Yeah, I'd love to have you there." And so the day came. We got there, midwife got there, her assistant got there, and she was laboring so beautifully. And we blew up the water, the pool, and she was starting to get pushy. And so we put her in the water and she started to push, and I was filming it. And as I'm filming, I'm watching the head emerge, and I'm like, this head it's so white. There's like no hair, which is pretty rare. Most babies have hair. And it's such a cone head. And she just started pushing. Like usually cone heads after been pushing for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And I was so confused. And then I see a line in the head. I'm like,
Oh my,
wait,
the
what
crack.
is that? And I realized it was the butt. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I look at the midwife and she looks at me and her eyes are just wide. We're just like, and the mom has no idea. And so baby comes out, she reaches down, and her husband's behind her in the water. It was so beautiful.
Oh.
And she's just holding the baby. And then after about 5, 6 minutes, we like told her like, hey, just a heads up, like just so you
Yeah.
just, breached a frank birth, which is butt first baby. And she was like, what? And we're like, yeah. And it was just so dreamy. It was so beautiful. She didn't tear. Baby was totally fine. It was just like it was
Oh.
divinely guided. Like I just felt God and angels just surrounding us at this birth. It was so
Oh, how
beautiful. And
beautiful.
had she been at the hospital, like that would have been a C-section, you know?
Yes. Yeah,
And so
automatically, right?
And then she got to go in her bed, and her daughter had just woken up. So her daughter came in and was snuggling with the little sister, and we brought her breakfast and tea. And it was like I had my sound bowls, and I was doing a sound bath during it, and it was
Oh,
like just dreamy, you know?
wow. Oh my gosh, I have the chills. I love that.
Yeah,
And she had no fear.
no
She had no
fear.
fear.
And if she did, she like fought past it,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
she just did it anyways. And that's
Yeah, she
like
didn't,
bravery.
she wasn't swarmed with the fear of this is a breach. We need to do this, this, this. It was just, let's give birth.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that
Trusting the
feeling.
body.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And you felt confident and the midwife felt confident. I feel, looking back on the birth of my baby, my first baby, it turned into a situation of fear and
Hmm.
emergency, and it was. And I pushed for almost 3 hours, and then it was like, quick, let's do a C-section. And
Mm.
then immediately following, they gave him an antibiotic, which I swear I'm convinced has affected his health today. But that's a different story. I'm very, very passionate about, I feel like the way we bring our babies into the world affects who they become. Now we have choices along the way. Okay, so that was one incidence of you helping with a breech birth. I love it. And the sound bowls. I heard you mix in the sound bowls. What about, I know you have another situation with a car birth.
Oh yeah. So this sweet mama, this is her second baby as well. Her first, she had a very traumatic first birth. And it's so common. And in fact, I used to be after like after all my births, I was really blessed with three beautiful births. First was in the hospital, but it was a very fast birth. I got to the hospital 15 minutes later. I pushed out my daughter into my husband's hands, laughing because I was in shock that it was that fast. And then my second, my third were home water births that were just heavenly. And so, but I almost found myself not telling people about them because so many women had such traumatic births. They weren't heard, they weren't listened to, there was no consent, they didn't go how they wanted. And I almost felt like ashamed, and just like, ugh, I don't want to like make them feel bad by sharing my story. So I honestly just wouldn't share it. And it wasn't until I became a doula that I actually got more vocal about it, just to give people just to open their minds of what's possible, of what you can actually have when you're intentional. And it really helps to have a doula. I'm not going to lie. And I know I'm biased, but we can, and I can't prevent like trauma. I do my best, but I will say that our births are much less traumatic. There has been a couple that, because of a unaligned provider, kind of hijacking the situation, can ruin things. But for the most part, we're able to really just kind of dodge bullets and help you just have a nice, smooth experience.
Nice.
So going back to this, birth, her first birth was very traumatic. Epidurals, three epidurals did not work.
Oh,
And so when you are planning for a medicated birth, you don't mentally prepare for an unmedicated birth, right?
right.
And so that expectation, and that's kind of how trauma is starts, is because unmet expectations. So she had very high expectations of not feeling the pain, and that is all she felt. Just a lot of tearing and a lot of pain afterwards. And so she had hired me because she wanted a much different experience.
Mhm.
And so we worked for months with therapy and trauma therapy and hypnobirthing and meditation, and just to work past that first birth to kind of set herself up for success for this second birth.
Mhm.
And so the day came and her labor started. very fast and furious. Her husband called me and said, "Hey, her water just broke and her contractions are like 2 minutes apart." And I'm like, wow, that is fast. And
Hmm.
so um, I was like, okay, um, I'm just getting home from a play with my kids. Let me drop them off. And he's like, and can you come to our house? And I said, yeah, let me drop them off and then I'll come over to your house. And they live right down the street from me. And so I drop my kids off. I'm on my way and he calls me. He's like, hey, they're like 1 minute apart. We're gonna head to Kaiser to the hospital. But this hospital is about 25 minutes away from them.
Uh,
And I said, well, why don't we go to Los Robles, which is like 2 minutes away? And he said, well, she feels more comfortable with the Kaiser doctors because she knows them. I said, I just don't think we're going to make it. And he's like, yeah, she wants to go there. And I was like, okay. But this little voice told me, Mary, I think it was God, Mary, go to their house. And so I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go to their house. I'm not going to meet them at the hospital, when her
yeah.
contractions are a minute apart. So I
Yeah.
go to their house and she's coping beautifully, like so well that you wouldn't think that she was like in transition about to have a baby. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And because she's listening to her hypnobirthing, she's just
Oh,
like in
wow.
the zone. She's got like noise canceling
You
headphones
prepared
on.
her. You prepared her well.
I did, but she also did a lot of the work.
Yeah.
She like listened and did her part, which I was so proud of. And so I'm following behind them, and we're about to get on the freeway, and the dad flips a U-turn. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're going to Los Robles. We're going to the closest hospital to us. And so I'm following behind. And as I'm following them, he's stopping at the stops at the red light. He's driving like 25 miles, very calm. So we pull into the circle, the roundabout in front of the hospital by ER.
Yes.
And I pull in right behind him and I park my car and I open my door and he like jumps out of his car and he's coming towards me. And he's like, she had the baby. She had the baby in the car. He's like, I caught the head.
Oh my
Was like,
gosh.
what? I was like, okay, amazing. And so I come out and I'm like, go tell ER, have them bring like a bed out. And so I come to her and she's just like holding her baby in her arms and she's just like in la la land, just like
In
in
the
heaven.
back seat of the car.
She's in the front seat.
Oh, in the front seat of the car.
Front seat of the car.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
holding her baby. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, and I grabbed a blanket and I just put it over them. Baby sounded great. Baby was like coughing and like you could hear baby's breathing
Yeah.
and coloring looked so good. And she was just like looking at me like, I'm like, you did it,
Oh.
girl. You did it. She's like, yeah.
No, as a
And
girl. Oh my gosh.
so they came out and the ER is just asking her a million questions. I was like, let's not ask her all these questions. Let's dad answer those, She's
Yeah.
like still in like such a beautiful space. And so
Yes.
we put her on the bed and they wheel her through ER and everyone is clapping as she's going
Oh,
through ER with her baby. And it was like the cutest, sweetest, like it was so precious.
oh my gosh. I
Yeah, and
love
then we got
that.
ER and dad cut the cord and said a little prayer and we got up to L&D and they were so happy. She was
Oh,
actually it sounds like crazy, it sounds like everyone's worst nightmare is having a baby in a car. But
yeah.
for her, she said, Mary, it was like everything, it was perfect. She's like, I didn't have to like walk up the elevator, go all the way. It's really far to get to L&D in both
Yeah.
hospitals. And she's like, I
Yeah.
just didn't want to do that walk, while in labor. And I was like, don't blame me there. And there was a couple other things I'm not remembering, but like she didn't want to have she wanted to push forever. She didn't want the bright lights. Like there was so many things, and she wanted to be the first one, her and her husband, to catch her baby, and they did. They got a delayed
Oh,
cord clamping. She's like, it was so ideal. And yeah, it was amazing. So,
that is. But what I hear in that is the prep that she even knew it was a possibility.
mhm.
With all of the empowerment that you gave her, I want to call that empowerment to really take charge of her birth. So I would just ask this one final question. If someone is on the fence about hiring a doula, what do you wish they understood so that it could help them decide?
Um, if you can do it. I mean, the right one that's aligned with you. Interview, find one that you really connect with, that you can trust, because it just makes such a difference. Even ACOG, the Association of, OBs, they finally came out with a statement that says that they highly recommend doulas because births 75% of the time have a much better outcome and can prevent cesareans and inductions and all these things. And
Mhm.
so it's just to have that support. You have your partner and your partner is fantastic, but most likely he's never given birth, but he knows you, and that is huge, and he is your rock. But having someone, another female, ideally a mother that has been through it, that knows birth, to just guide you and to support you both, that is like the dream team. That is like the perfect combination.
Mary, thank you so much for sharing your amazing experiences. I obviously felt your heart there. You have so much knowledge, and we got a glimpse of your humor. This is the exact kind of conversation that made me want to start this podcast, is just to talk to people who offer holistic options for biggest moments in our
Yeah.
life or the biggest healing that we need. So
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it with, if you want to connect with Mary or just learn more about her work, or reach out to her for support of your own, or maybe you want to suggest or recommend her to somebody, I'm going to leave all of her information in the podcast show notes. Where can they find you? Just briefly on Instagram.
Lotus, yeah, lotusdoulatribe.com is my website and Lotus Doula Tribe is my Instagram.
If this podcast, if any of this gave you something to think about, a birth of your own or somebody that you love, make sure you subscribe to Own Your Wellness podcast so you don't miss what's coming next. We're going to share all kinds of stories from all different journeys in our life, but definitely share this with a mama who needs to hear it. So thank you so much, Mary. We'll see you
Thank
next
you,
time.
Tami. Appreciate
All right.
it.